How's it going, Aries community? Now you know who it is, a soul tigress with a special story for this wonderful frequency. Thank you so much, first off, for your time, your energy, and your patience as I navigate the story between the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, and everything in between. Now keep in mind, everyone, that this is a safe and sacred space where I call in the angels, ancestors, spirit guides, as well as divine and universal energy to come on in and be the guides and protectors for all the positive messages we're about to receive. Now keep in mind that this is not love tarot. This channel is based on self-empowerment and building the stepping stones for us to get connected with our soul being, which helps connect us to a higher power. So let's go ahead and get started with the vibe. Ooh, Aries. Somebody's been working hard, and I really feel it in your energy. Your hard work is paying off. Stay to your guided path. And then I kept hearing this song. I'm not sure if I have the lyrics right. I'm not even sure who sings it, but I believe it's an old country song, and it's talking about playing cards. Now, it says, feel when to, and I quote, know when to hold 'em, know when to throw 'em, end quote. So with life is a game of chance. The more chances you take, the more you have the chance to open a new door to different opportunities. But if you don't take those chances, none of those doors get opened. Start believing in the better outcomes life has to offer. It's time to let go of the very thing that holds you back. What happened once upon a time ago wasn't fair or right, but it needed to happen for you to open up to the very things you were putting up through so much compromise. Let's face it, I mean, it's never fun when stuff comes to an end. It's never fun getting out of bad situations, whether with people, places, or things, and then years later just realizing how much you put up with, how much you dealt with, how much you compromised yourself on to try and prove your loyalty, to try and prove that you were there. It can hurt a lot. But how can we see that dedication, that work, that loyalty in a different light? How can we see as well that the divine loves you, always has, and it's always waiting. When you are ready, it's there for you. I don't know what happened in the past, but I get a sense with the divine coming in with that last message, it was something that hurt Aries a lot, and it left a bitter taste in their mouth, believing that they weren't ever going to get something. Maybe something wasn't going to change. Maybe something wouldn't ever be brought back together with family. I'm not sure. But for some reason, whatever that outcome was, Aries, I don't know if Aries is still playing the blame game and blaming a lot on themselves for putting up with so much, I would say. But as I was talking with somebody today, actually, I asked this person, what does the blame game get you? What gains do you get out of playing this blame game? Whether you're blaming yourself, blaming others, what does it get you? And for me, the blame game gets us nowhere. It gets us pointing a finger in one direction, but does it solve the root of the problem? Does it help how we feel? Does it help the outcomes that have happened? Think about it. All right, so let's get started with the introduction. So even before I wrote that last message, I had pulled out the talisman, and it didn't even click in my mind. Usually with this deck and this eye right here, I always feel like it's the guiding eye of the divine. I always say divine because I'm non-dominant. So whatever is your creator, your God, your belief system, that is divine energy, it is here and it's helping guide your path. But the thing is, with this blame game, you have blocks up to what the lessons were. You have blocks up to things that you haven't been able to see that could help you understand why you're at where you're at now versus where you wanted to be 10 years ago when you were dealing with something 5 years ago, 2 years ago. I'm not sure. Because remember, we will fall in love with the potentials of things, potentials of people, potentials of businesses, potentials of situations. And we would like to see our future selves with it 10 years plus. And then we start to build up that expectation. When that expectation doesn't work out, then we start to build resentment towards it. So let's go ahead. Divine and ancestors. What is it that needs to come out for the Aries introduction? Equilibrium. I feel like a fair exchange needs to happen, especially in the emotional self, in the rough cliffs of our emotional side. What we don't see is learn the truth. What we don't want to see, what we want to be at odds ends with. Something else we don't see, healing energy. To me, right now, that's meaning we don't see that we can move forward. We can let it go. Like I said, I'm not sure what happened, but whatever happened in this past, it hurt Aries a lot. It hurt Aries so much that they can't open up to the truth of things. That even trying to go back to these cliffs of their emotions that were rough with this situation, they rather just avoid it. They rather not make that climb. They rather just keep it where it's at and try and stay the farthest away from it. But by doing that, you haven't healed from it. It's like a wound that isn't healing, a wound that keeps getting infected that you have to keep dealing with. Why don't you want to clean this wound out properly? It's going to hurt. It's going to sting. But it would be better for your own good. Maybe it will help bring on more eternal charisma. But again, we have to practice being in the now. We also have to practice being mindful of the very things that we avoid. Why do we avoid them? What is it about this past that we're afraid that it's going to implement itself in our future? All right, last card. Last card. We'll go 2 cards. Happiness. That mindfulness that you are at odds ends with keeps you confused on your happiness now. Are you actually happy? Am I happy? Is this where I want to be? I thought I wanted something else. Maybe I had that chance, but somehow the situation blew it. And we don't see our destiny. We don't see that we have that key. But maybe that key comes at the expense of having our back this time. That's a lot. It's easy to play the excuse me. It's easy to play the blame game, especially when the situation hurts a lot. I don't know what it is when we feel like we can put the blame somewhere. Somehow we feel like it validates us. It validates what we think. It validates being able to point out somebody else's mistake. Maybe point out our mistake. It's a form of punishment. But is this form of punishment worth it? Is keeping and pointing that finger at yourself or at someone else really, really worth it? Because it keeps you tied up in 1, 2, probably 3 different ways with it. It takes a lot of work to still hold a grudge. It takes a lot of work to stay bitter. It takes a lot of work to continue to be upset with a person, place, or thing. Keep that in mind, Aries. All that work, all that focus. When you could be able to change up that focus and you can start to focus on where you want to go, unlocking the destiny that you were wishing for at one time. All right, so angels, 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 what needs to come out? Again, being truthful. I feel like it has to do with a lot of the compromise that you were facing. A lot of compromise that others didn't know about. You thought through this compromise that it would keep things together. You thought this self-sacrifice with this person, place, or thing would show them that you would always be there, supporting. You wanted to show your sense of loyalty. That's what I get. Happiness and so what falls on happiness is I have the Death card and the 10 of Cups. I felt like it was, I don't know if you were, what is that called? Like sucker punched with what happened when everything did come down. That's what I feel like. This, it came at a big expense. This compromise took a lot of what you wanted away, a lot of the opportunities it could have been, places that you wanted to go, certain outcomes maybe that you originally wanted, but you got in this situation and you started to compromise a lot. And again, this compromise took away a lot of different things, a lot of different opportunities that would have put you in a lot of fulfillment. You felt like, it's like the shoulda, woulda, coulda's kind of thing. If I would have known this would have had me running around chasing my tail just to be abandoned, just to be left out in the cold, just to be lied to, just to be deceived, then I wouldn't have done it. I would have went off in this other direction. I would have followed my happiness. I would have followed the things that I thought that would have made me happy, kind of thing. But that wasn't an option here. This, for some reason, I don't even think that whatever you're thinking about would have actually happened because of this death card here. And this death card is marching towards it. I think that this was a karmic lesson here that was unavoidable. Maybe that's something to take into consideration. If it wouldn't have been this situation, it would have been another just like it. With this death card, that's 8th house energy that deals with Pluto. This is basic life drives. This is also the house of transformation through relationships. Even if you would have made it to whatever was the shoulda, woulda, coulda, this death card would have still followed this transformation through relationships. And you may have ended up having it here and taking a loss in a different way. Could have been losing out on more material goods that you would have had built up in this other direction that you thought you should have, would have, could have went in. So don't get lost in your fantasies of those shoulda, woulda, coulda. Now that makes sense with the mindfulness here and learning the truth of things. There was a lesson here that you had to learn. Now, whether that lesson is to get you closer to yourself, to also maybe teach you what you deserve, or to help empower you and evolve you as a person, I'm not sure yet. But what I'm seeing is this lesson was inevitable. For all you know, or for all I know, this could have been a generational curse type of lesson. I'm not sure. Alright, let's see what else comes out. I have the High Priestess in reverse. I'm not going to show you this High Priestess. She's a little exposed. But this High Priestess, when in the negative energy, she is not the nicest person. And that's what I get, is you would have dealt with this foul energy, this very taking energy, this energy who is not considerate of others, this energy who could be high maintenance, this energy who could have a laundry list of demands and high expectations that keep somebody running around. And if you're a people pleaser, then definitely this lesson was inevitable for you. You always got to get that one in there that pushes you so far to where you want to reassess everything when you get out of it. Reassess how you go about things, or even how things come towards you. Let's go ahead and continue. Alright, so the Magician here. Onto this Nine of Swords. I have the Two of Wands here. Alright. And then what we don't see is the King of Wands. What I get is you really, really tried your best. You really thought that this was it. I felt like you brought out all the tools to make it work. I feel like you even stepped up in a way that this other energy should have been stepping up. You were trying to be very progressive with this situation. You were trying to bring new things to this situation, as well as teaching this situation. You were trying to level it up. Again, trying to get it to that potential that you see that it had. Remember, this is with a person, place, or thing. Three of Pentacles. But this contract has been expired. It's been expired for a while. a very, very, very long while. What I get is you go back and forth between it. You see the things that you've done for it, but on the same sense, you feel what pisses you off about it. I think how you handle it in the emotions is what has your Achilles tendon right here. Because this Page of Cups in the reverse reminds me of the Hangman. Look at, even with the 1 foot up like the Hangman. It wasn't the outcome that you wanted. But the situation still has you hung up. I mean, it could be some of the reasons why you should let loose. Some of the reasons why you constrict yourself too. So it's in the sense where it has you so constricted about things, so hung up in what happened in the emotions, that again, we can't see how this contract was expired. It wasn't for you. It was just a mere stepping stone. And that you, through all your efforts, all your providing efforts, all your teaching efforts, you were the master in this situation. Even though you don't feel like it, you felt like they mastered you. They could have manipulated you. They could have took advantage of you. But like I've mentioned before, I can't remember, it was a few stories back, they can only fool you for as long as you let them fool you. And I think this is what also has you hung up again, is because you compromised on so much. You dealt with so much folly from them. All right, what is the last card? Yeah. You're the one trying not to have any of y'all out in the cold. Again, I don't know if it's you rather trust others or you can't find the way to trust yourself when it came to this partnership. But also, what you try not to see is the conflict in it with this person, place, or thing. I felt like it was more conflict than anything. It was more conflict in the sense of when you tried to progress with it, when you tried to move it forward, when you tried to bring in your charisma, your passion for things, the passion to get again to that potential. It worked out better when things were kind of shallow, when things were superficial, when you weren't trying to evolve them in a sense, when you weren't fighting with them, trying to show them how to become better, how to do better, how to be better. You could have been trying to be the motivation for this person. That's what I'm getting here. I don't know. I don't know though. What I do get is that's all they were. That's all the situation was a stepping stone. Because I don't have anything really directly clear about this situation here. They don't even want to talk about it. The ancestors, the angels, the guides, divine, universal, they're not really bringing up this person here. This is how much that they really don't matter. They don't. But I think it's fighting the healing that makes Aries feels like this matters a whole lot much more than what it actually does. It's like being afraid of something before you even know what it is. It's like you go to these emotional cliffs, and what I see is a lot of fog around them. You don't know how high this climb is. You don't, if you're at the top, you don't know how far down these cliffs go. And it's because of you not knowing the exact route that you're going to take, which is, in a sense, the exact reason why everything happened, besides blaming yourself, is what holds you back. That's that invisible fear. So as the ram, you're not able to take these climbs because you can't see the truth, or you can't see the directions and what makes sense to you, because what you've hid yourself from, what you've told yourself from then until now isn't sitting right with you. It's not the truth. It's not being mindful, and it's something that confuses you on even having happiness with another person, place, or thing. All right, angels of protection, help guide us in the block. What is it that needs to come out for the Aries? What is the very block in this situation? Well, I have a 7 of Swords here. Then I have the 8 of Pentacles. This is a big fear in the mind. This is a fear of going and doing something again and basically being robbed of your happiness. Somebody that you're gonna end up with who's probably gonna repeat the same thing of being high maintenance, demanding so much of you just for you to end up in the same boat that you were in before. You're very You're very worried about manifesting the same thing. Then I have the Page of Wands. I feel like it feeds your roughness towards others. Like how it's like a defensive mechanism. Instead of trying to be so open to everyone that you meet, you bring on this roughness right away. And it's a little bit of a shield here, but it's also a block. And this block could be something that kind of keeps others detoured from coming in on you on different directions. If they're going to want to play, they're going to have to come the way that you're going to ask them to come. I feel like we stay up and we think about this. Maybe even when we see the commercials around this Valentine's Day, we think about this previous contract. Maybe we think about ways that we can prevent it from happening. Yeah, Knight of Swords. Stuck in that same thought process. Again, you're going round and round with yourself. I don't know, is this like you feel like this is it? This is it? This is all she wrote? Woohoo! Let's see what's going on here. 2 of Swords. You feel like by staying stuck and not letting anyone else in, it's the very thing that protects you. Then I have this Fool here that lands on this Ace of Swords. I mean, you're able to go off into the directions you want to go. You're able to get out of it. But it came at a cost. It's still costing you. Yeah, it's still costing you because it's keeping you out of balance. It's keeping you feeling like, in a sense, life isn't fair. What happened in this contract wasn't fair. Then I have the Star here. It wasn't fair, and you don't see another wish fulfillment in your future. You see how there's not one other out here? I mean, you have the way to go. But I think inside you want somebody to go with. You want a partner. You want a community that you can share this adventure with. But it's not happening. I'm really confused on this Fool card. Can I get a clarity card for the Fool? Oh. It's because you don't know how to view yourself. That's a little bit of something that you're at odds ends with. Or you could be telling yourself some, what is it? Some limiting beliefs. I don't know where you're at in the age bracket, but I have somebody who questions their youth. Who questions, how do I put it? Who questions their value, their societal value. What I could have is an Aries who's at a certain age and they feel like too much time could have passed for them. They feel like because of this time, there could not be other opportunities out here. Maybe that's why they're so upset with this one. Maybe it's because they wasted a lot of time here. Alright, what else needs to come out? There's a big fear of the work that it needs to happen. Now, it could be the work of starting all over again when it comes to these partnerships, when it comes to us finally being open to going through the doors of new opportunities. We don't know if the work is going to be worth it. I guess we don't know if there's wealth at the end. If the wealth that we could gain would be worth it. We're not sure if we can do this journey by our own guided light, by our own guided truth. What is the last card for the Black? Alright. King of Swords. Ooh. King of Swords, very smart, intellectual, very good with their tongue. Oh man, Libras, Aquariuses, Geminis. Ooh, watch out, because they can talk that talk. But they can also get stuck in a one way of thinking, becoming very ignorant in the mind, becoming irrational with their thoughts, being stuck in only one way of thinking of things, confused about what they've had around them. I'm feeling like here. This one way of thinking, I feel like, is the very thing that's robbing you. It's robbing you of being able to get up and do something different. Being able to have a new belief. Being able to see that you can manifest that ideal outcome. But you have to open up to not being stubborn and only having this verdict from this one view. You might need to stop just thinking about it. That might be the thing that's the kicker in the rear. Maybe the truth is going to come at how you feel about it, not what you think about it, but how you felt about it. That might be the very thing that helps bring in the healing energy. Because a lot of times when we're at war with how we feel, it's because we're only going from it from a logical direction. And sometimes emotions are not logical. Not everything in life is logical. I mean, there's plenty of miracles that happen all the time that are unexplainable. And those miracles are a lot of times driven through the passion of somebody. So keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and check out this conclusion. Let's see what positive messages need to come out for this story. Divine and universal energy. What are the positive messages for this conclusion? Woo-wee. Windfall. And then we had it tap on this one. This landed on, well, it hit this card. Then it landed on the Three of Swords. Destiny. I really feel like to help get you out of these halls of illusions, look at the windfall of events that happened. That led up to the demise of the situation in the past. The situation that holds you back from other things. Look at how everything stacked up by one thing at a time. Yes, it was quick when everything happened, but it took time for it to get there. All right. Self-employment. With self-employment, this card right here, I always say you have to have a certain belief in yourself. You have to have a certain drive with yourself to be self-employed. You have to have a certain acknowledgement that you are just that good enough and that you can take care of the business you need to take care of to get stuff done. A lot of people hold themselves back from entrepreneurships, from doing self-employment kind of stuff, owning their own business, and it's a lack of confidence that they have in themselves that holds them back. So what is this lack in confidence? What is this fear? If you go check out my new moon, full moon interpretation for the new moon in Aquarius, new moon in Leo, we talk about how we are favored from the divine, but also how this month is asking us to face the monsters. The monsters that we use to punish ourselves for a choice or choices that we made, past mistakes that we made that could have been influenced by outside variables. When you go off and you want to start believing in yourself, how can you see that from then until now is very different? How can you see how you've been able to take care of things from then until now and make these choices to continue to take care of things? All right, what else? Volunteer. Ooh. One of the best things to do, in my opinion, is to get out of the energy of wanting to make stuff happen or make these ideal outcomes happen, because if they're not happening, we get upset because that expectation wasn't made. How can you just volunteer yourself to the beliefs that you really want? Not expectations, because expectations can disappoint us, but volunteer yourself. It doesn't have to be a full-time commitment, but it is something that you can work at. And when you volunteer, again, there's no strings attached. There's no sense of you having to create this certain expectation for certain outcomes. On the other side of it, it could be going and opening up to volunteer work. You never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to network with, the events that you can end up attending around it, and the different people that you can meet there. Being able to give back in such a way that it actually does help. You may end up meeting somebody who went through a similar experience who can give you their knowledge of what happened, which could be a seed that gets planted into you being able to view something differently. One of the greatest things that you can give also is your time. You don't believe it. Gracefully aging. Like fine wine. It's hard with societal norms, especially in this day and age when we're all told we're all supposed to look this one way and never gray, unless that is the hair color that's in, because remember that like 10 years ago. But a lot of times people will cut their life's journey short, and they will settle because they feel like they've outaged. They've outaged any new adventure that could come their way. But that's not true. Honestly, that's what holds you back from believing in yourself. Healthcare changes. Right here. If you keep being hard on yourself, you keep critiquing yourself, your body's always gonna feel it. Your soul being's gonna feel it. And then you're gonna feel it. And it's this repeating cycle of being down on yourself. How can you make other decisions? If there's certain things that upset you about certain things about your health, how can you make the decisions to have courage to do something different? It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to take the first steps. And you never know. You might, again, end up going somewhere and you could end up meeting other people who are more like-minded. You can end up, again, networking with something and finding a really nice place to be employed with, or a really nice place that you can rent to start your own thing. You can come to a really nice place in your path of life where you start to take care of yourself a little differently. And what happens is when you have situations come up in the now that reminds you of this past, you've already would have learned a little bit more about yourself, to where you can be mindful when it comes to others trying to play you for a fool. Because remember, this happened. It was unavoidable, but it happened to help you grow. All right, last two cards here. I was hoping this would come out. This was one of the reasons why I wrote what I wrote at the very end, because it was a message from the divine. Follow that gut. Follow that purpose. You never know who you're going to meet along the way. Today, I will give you an example with this little bit of a detour that I'm going to go on. I met a older gentleman today, and I usually don't go walking in this direction, but today I felt the drive like no other, that I needed to go for a walk in this direction. And over halfway through this journey, I have this elderly man that comes out, and he compliments my dog from a distance. And I was like, yeah, I told him a few things and stuff. And then he just gave her, again, a really big compliment as we were going to get ready to go. And I turned to him and I looked, I was like, do you want to meet her? And the surprise on his face by me offering for him to meet my dog. And he was fully excited. He was happy. He did not expect that. And he said, yeah. And I brought her over to him, where they met halfway. And he just petted her, and he told me how he used to have dogs and how he can't do it anymore because it's hard when you lose them. And by the time we were done talking, I knew that that person was the reason why I had to go on the walk in that direction. It wasn't for me. It was for them. And this is how sometimes you can help people, or people can help you along your path in different ways. He had a special bond that he had with his animals. And when he told me the breed of his animals, I seen why him seeing my dog really triggered his memory of the animals, because she had just gotten a haircut. So she would have kind of looked a little bit similar to their coat styles, but very little, but enough to trigger the memory for him. And I could almost bet that made his day, being able to pet her. Because if you've ever went from having pets for years to not having pets, it is a very big traumatic change. It's a big one. There's a sense of emptiness in the home. That's why I say that when you start getting out and you're doing these new things, you're meeting new people, you could be volunteering, you could be going to the gym, doing something different. You're going to meet others, you're going to network, and you're going to see how things are falling into place and how it was all meant, all of it, from the very beginning of your path until this point. It was all meant. All right, so last card, and this comes at this conflict. It comes at this Two of Cups. I have finances. You're afraid of overspending yourself again for another partnership. If you're afraid of overspending yourself again, then I would ask you, do you feel like you can protect yourself? Protect yourself enough to smell the bullshit on somebody's shoe who's trying to walk up in your home? Do you have enough sense of protection to tell that fool that they need to take off their shoe and clean it, or they need to go take themselves another way? Can you hold that confidence that not everybody comes your way is a clean, well-intentioned type of mofo? That sometimes you get these foul energies who are even stepping in their own bullshit and trying to bring it to you, and they don't care. Really think about it, because if you feel like you can't protect yourself, then that leaves you open to settling. Then I would ask, well, what is the work that you need to do to find your true value? To find that the value of everything that you built up in your sacred home is worth more than settling for some fool who's going to walk around your sacred home with shit on their shoe. Remember, you worked hard and you're still working hard. All right? But give yourself a little break when it comes to being so vain about being the bad guy in this past situation, about being so vain about having to blame yourself for what has happened in this past situation, okay? Because it's not all about you. In a sense, you got to remember, it takes two to tango. All right? And don't punish yourself for caring so much. Don't let this past situation turn you cold and ruin any new opportunities for you, because that's not fair for you. All right, so this is going to conclude it, Aries frequency. Thank you so much for hanging out. And don't forget to thank your angels, ancestors, guides, as well as divine and universal energy for coming in as the protectors and guides for all these positive messages. And Aries, I hope you have a most wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.